Yeah.
I've got the Kim. Oh my gosh, Kim in the house. And we're going to do this too. Hey. Boom, boom, boom. Wait for it. In 4, 3, beat drop. Beat drop goes boom. Yes. This meeting is being live streamed. We love that. Yes. Authors Corner all day. Wow, this is just the fun stuff. Authors from Corner the day. All day. Wow, this is just the fun stuff. Authors from Corner the day. Boom. Yes. Whoa, it's on the hour. We have now the hour starting, and the wonderful thing about our dance party is that thanks to Power Music, thank you to Power Music for a little bit of licensed, royalty-free music for our Facebook Lives, and I much prefer Facebook Lives than our Facebook Deads. Kim, author, humanitarian, and most importantly, Kim, survivor. That's what I call you. Not every person with a book I can call a personal survivor, a hero, a heroine, someone that I look up to who is just with us, but by the grace of God and the higher powers of the universe. My friends, I invite you to experience for our interview on Authors Corner. Kim, where in the world are we finding you? Please tell all our viewers.
I am in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Welcome, welcome. I'm so thrilled that you could be with us today. And you have a book, and I know it's in more than its first printing. Our last author that I interviewed had 17 and a first out. Now you are in a reprint of a book from a book that came out when I met you a few years ago as a single woman, and now you're a married woman, an author, all the more well-rounded international fitness presenter, mom, wife, and all-around choreographer and gym manager and author. Can you show us your book, Kim?
Wow, yes, I can. My book is here.
Yes, this is Kim on the cover of her book. The book has a butterfly on it. It's an incredible book of a personal story, and I believe, as every author will say, we can only write what we know and be an industry expert. If Kim is an industry expert, she won't tell you this, I will. Kim is an industry expert in this little theme topic that not all of us can talk about, which is called surviving when you're left for dead on the side of the road. What? Oh my goodness. These days, Kim, don't you find out that so many of our colleagues have a book? Everybody has a book, and it takes a lot of conquering fear to tell your story and write a book. I just know I write a one sentence on Twitter, and I've got a million 10, 20 people who instantly didn't know me, all of a sudden hate me. It's incredible. And we don't write 2 sentences. We write books, and we write pages, and we write paragraphs, and they all come from the paradigm of our heart, which is incredible. You're in Malaysia. You published this book in Malaysia, and I respect you because you are not a mother of a son or a daughter, but you're the mother of this book. You gave birth to this book a few years ago. And for those of our viewers who might not know what the book is about, the book is called But by Grace. And by chance, do you have a little show and tell I've asked you to have, because I don't have with me where I am, the newspaper story that you recently posted? Do you have a copy of that?
I do have a soft copy, but I can't seem to find the newspaper cutting of it. Yeah.
You just posted it 2 days ago.
Oh, yeah. I know, but it was the photo was taken many years ago.
Well, of course it was. Look at all this. This was taken many years ago. This is just artificial intelligence to make people think I can look and turn and actually and blink my eyes. Before we talk about your book, Kim, we could read your book. I've said all these accolades in fitness and wellness, and that you're the owner of a gym, co-owner of a gym. You're the choreographer. You manage a staff of at least 10, and you are the gym that is unique in the world for people who don't like gyms. And your mascot is a unicorn, and the logo is a lighthouse of a gym, which is just so revolutionary and remarkable and refreshing. We can read your bio, but tell me something. Tell all
Thank
of our
you.
viewers,
Yeah.
Kim, something about you that we would never
Mhm.
find out reading your bio.
I left home when I was 13 years old to be a national athlete from a small state in Sarawak to the national team in KL. Yeah, so I left home at 13 years old, not knowing how to wash my clothes, not knowing to cook, not knowing to do anything. Yes, I left home at 13 years old.
And because I know you well, I know
Yeah.
there's so much backstory there as well. And I think it's okay to tell our viewers that it wasn't easy to leave home. And when you left home, it also
Yeah.
came with a couple rules and a couple stipulations, which we don't have to go into because people can read your book. If I'm in an elevator with
Yeah.
you, for all of our viewers, just because you're here, I'm here, and it's just us and all the other people watching on Facebook
Mhm.
Live. If I meet you in an elevator and you say, yes, I have this book, you are the most humble, modest person I know. But the elevator is called the Not Humble Elevator. You have to tell me in 20 floors,
Not humble.
about a minute, what's your elevator pitch? Tell me, why do I need to read your book?
Do you want more of God's grace in your life? Undeserved favor. And, sometimes when we think about putting things together, it's it's so hard to plan for things sometimes, and things come in your way, and your plans are all pushed aside, and want to know what you can do with the second chance in life. That
Yeah.
would be my elevator speech.
That's it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would want to ask more questions, and that's my favorite elevator speech. If people come into an elevator and tell me something, and I say, I want to ride back down with you, and then I'll go back up or get off this floor with me, and I want to ask more questions. And sometimes people have been in the elevator where I just want to say, get off with me, let alone get off on this floor. That's a whole other topic. But let me tell you, your book, you wrote of your very personal story, and when I met you, you were single, you were not a presenter, you were at AFC in Thailand as a delegate, and you were a cyclist, correct? You were always riding bike.
Yeah, so I was a triathlete when just before I came and became a personal trainer in Fitness First. I was a triathlete. Yeah, I started at 7 years old as a swimmer, and then we progressed to three sports. So triathlon is swim, bike, and run, and yeah, so that happened
And before we
in
talk
many ways.
about that middle one, the bike one,
Yeah.
you had begun dating. I was having tea with a very nice gentleman who I saw would be a future presenter, who said one day I'd like to open my own gym. And I said, sure you would. Everybody would. But he did, and it's still open and it's successful. It's our mutual
Yeah.
friend, Noelle. And Noelle said,
Yes.
see that girl over there? I said, yeah, she's attending. I said, yeah. He said, her name is Kim. And I said, yeah. He said, I'm going to marry that Kim. I said, what? I said, she doesn't know, but I'm going to marry
No.
her. Oh my gosh, Kim. And then you dated. And he
Yes.
was getting very, very interested in proposing to you a marriage. And when he was going to propose to you the marriage, you were on a training bike ride. What happened?
Yes. Yeah. So life got interrupted on the 28th of May, 2014, 8:30 a.m. I was coming back home from my training ride, and a car hit me from the back. I was left. He hit and run, but he left his car behind, and he called his mom to come and pick him up. So he kind of did run. It's a hit and run, but he left his car there. So, and I was in coma for 7 days. I was in coma for 7 days, and I don't remember what happened
Can
after.
I tell
You know,
something? I I
yes,
I I know what was happening during those 7 days where you were not
yeah.
conscious.
Oh,
Yeah,
mhm.
my good friend Noel came to your bedside and stayed there for those 7 days and posted sometimes your wristband in the hospital, sometimes your thumb,
Mhm.
and sometimes your ankles. Never your face. You were all bandaged up. You were so black and blue, as you would show us
Mhm.
in the newspaper articles if you found them. And he would post different body parts or your water cup or the medicine, everything to show some body part of his physically next to a body part of yours for the 7 days when you were
Yeah.
in the hospital coma. And he said, "This is the girl I'm going to marry. And this is the girl who's coming back from her coma. And this is the girl who's going to wake up. And this is the girl who's going to be my wife. And this is the girl who's going to
Oh.
co own a gym and manage people. Good luck with that. And this is the person who's going to come back and she's going to say yes. And this is the person who's going to meet my family. And this is the person who's going to start a life with me. And we're going to get a dog." And you woke up after 7 days.
Oh, yeah. Yes, and I remembered one thing. I wanted to escape from the hospital because I had no idea what happened.
Right.
And yeah, mom and dad was there and everyone was there, but I tried to escape the hospital one night, and it was daunting. Yes, it was. It
Sure.
wasn't a pleasant
And so
month
you
in the
started this
hospital.
and you started this book after you got out and got better through
Yeah.
lots of rehab. I think you have been on a bike since then, right?
Yes, I have been on a on a travel bike, not on a racing bike.
Right. Okay. And do you teach indoor
Yeah.
cycling? I don't remember. You teach indoor cycling?
No, but that is a
But
dream.
it is safe.
That's a
It is safe.
dream.
No hit and run. I tell you, it is safe. Going
It's safe.
nowhere. Dark. Safe. Safe, kids. Safe.
Yes, very safe.
And you can choose your own music and you can choose the people around you, unlike life. Yes. And you wrote this book, and this book has been featured
Yes.
and interviewed and televised and now in a second printing. And I'm so happy that you were able to share your story. I don't think we've ever had your story from your point of view uninterrupted by me, although I still interrupted. As soon as you said there were 7 days when I didn't know what was going on, I know what was going on because I was watching the post breaking down while Noelle is posting at your bedside. Any change? Is she okay? And because he and I were
Mm,
super friends, and you and I got closer after you came out of your coma, and then you had this wonderful marriage, and you brought me a piece of
yeah.
the marriage cake to New York City. That was
Wow, yes,
lovely to
we
get
did.
this piece of wedding cake 11 months later. And I ate it. I know, because
Was it
apparently it was well
11?
preserved with whiskey and brandy. That's a whole other story. That's a book. How your friends eat your wedding cake to toast to your good luck 11 months after your wedding. And eat it. I wasn't like pretending, oh, it's delicious. I'll finish it later. I ate it in front of you in New York City. And we visited in New York. We visited in Mykonos.
Yeah.
We visited a couple places. Tell me why your book is so timely for everyone today, after a pandemic mentality of getting but by grace message into us, even people of many other faiths or no faith.
Yeah. So after how the pandemic has affected every one of us, there were many out there that needed hope. And I think that this book will bring you a lot of hope, faith, and a lot of love, because I don't think anyone would can imagine a human being going through that such a dark time, and coming out of it. It takes a lot of mental strength, and for me physical, because I had to learn to walk again after the accident. And so yeah, so I have decided to make the best out of my second chance in life.
Absolutely. We don't always get a
Yes.
second chance, and you took it and
Yeah.
you wrote about it, and people don't have to have had a
Mhm.
coma or that kind of a setback to get some
Yeah.
great insight from your book. Talk about an industry subject matter expert, survival. She survived, left for dead, in a coma, and had to relearn some skills. Tell me, Kim, tell all of us, where can we buy your book?
You can buy my book at this link I will post to, oh no, do I post this link
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
this chat,
What,
to the chat
excuse me,
here?
an author saying, should I try to let people buy my book? Hello. You can do it even when we're finished. You go into the comments on both your feed and mine if you're sharing. And in the
Yeah.
comments, you can put a link and we will go there. And how is your book available? Did you record it? Is it audio? Do you have an
No,
audio?
it's not audio, it's ebook. It's an ebook.
Right. We can get it
Yeah, because it's just
internationally immediately. I happen to have a snail mail.
immediately.
My
Yeah.
copy autographed is from you, not with me here. And in addition to that, it's in New York because it came with the wedding cake, as well as,
Oh yes.
yeah, right, the 11-month wedding cake, which apparently lasts years because of ancient Indian recipe that has so much alcohol that I think it's like mummified. It was great. It was delicious. And
Yay, it's a fruitcake.
yeah, hello. Tell me, after the typecasting of wedding cake, you did that in my honor because I couldn't be there. It was a delicious fruitcake and great frosting. Kim, what's your favorite part of the book, or what's one favorite part of your book that you know can stand alone and is really good, like you'll open to and be really proud of that section?
My favorite part of the book is at page 50 when we actually got to meet the doctor who came, and he was my neck brace before the ambulance came. And he held me, he turned back, he was just driving by the road, and we did meet him in church, and we got to talk to him and took a photo, and he got to tell his story, and he didn't know how much his his hand saved my life. Yeah, that was my most favorite part of the book. And I read this book every time I feel down. I read my book and I feel so much better after. Yeah.
That's an important reminder for me. I just started something that I shared recently on a Stavention, which is a survival kit, a survival box.
Mhm.
And when I have really
Yeah.
down moments, where to go, what to put in that survival box, which you can't ever create when you're down. You have to know what to do when you're really good. Say, I want to keep this movement and this movement and this moment and this movement. What do
Mhm.
I put in this box? And you just gave me some great ideas of some more things to put into my safety survival box of for the
Yeah.
down moments where you go and you put all things right. Do you stay in touch with this doctor?
I I don't, but I see him in church a lot. Just
Okay,
recently we see him in church. Yeah, we do.
right.
So yeah,
And
maybe I should.
he has an autographed copy, right?
He does. I
Okay.
think. Yeah, 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 he does.
All right, good. Yes, yeah. I think it might be great to find if he's on Facebook or Instagram, and it might be great just to have a coffee. You never know what could come out of it for a part two, or
Mm.
if you're going to go into the next printing and invite him to write the preface and tell his story, or the foreword, or and tell his story, or do a joint podcast. Your husband has that podcast of with Alvin that is on hiatus, but if
Mhm.
they go back, what a great guest to have. And he's
Mhm.
local. I think when you have moments like that, I've had a quote unquote savior in my life, a team of two last
Mhm.
September 2022. And I stay in touch with them. I make myself on the 1st and the 15th always reach out to them. And it could be a long message with some content or a simple gratitude, thinking of you, super grateful for you. It's so important, Kim, from the impact that you
Oh,
told me
wow.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my take on your
Yeah,
story is really the Noel
I will.
waiting and the Noel pose, and you got married and this famous wedding cake. However, I didn't know so much about page 50 until today. Thank you for telling us about page 50.
Mm,
Thank you for putting in the comments where we can buy your book. I think it's important for everyone to realize that we all have stories and we all have survival stories. In the most literal sense, Kim's is triumphant because she's back and teaching. And
thank you.
as of
Thank you
now,
so
how
much.
many people are you overseeing? Not count. Well, you could count your husband because he's teaching group fitness now. So you technically are his boss now, and I'm all about the females writing the checks of the males. I just think it's absolutely time. How many people now?
7 in total with Noel. Yeah, we work
Yeah.
very well as a team. This team is so it's they say the team makes the dreams come true. They are the dream team.
You're so cool. Teamwork makes the dream work. I just recorded that on the 4th anniversary
I
of
love it.
JJ Sweeney's happy birthday in Indonesia. They asked for a happy birthday
Wow.
message, and I sent it to them. And they are together, the same team for 4 years. I said, remember, my friends, teamwork makes the dream work. Peace out. And you just quoted that. And I quoted you, whatever. Same, same. Great minds run in the same gutter. It's great to know that we're on the same wavelength. You've been to a fit camp. We've been together on many countries and many parties. And
Yes.
you, not a lot of people know, I don't know if it's in your book in any way, but you are part of Team Biscuit. And that is the team of
Yes.
people who make Biscuit's style of life that he has become accustomed with all his changes for 10 years possible. And you, from the very first year, have been part of Team Biscuit, from hiding Biscuit at AFC conventions to bringing him on stage at AFC conventions, as well as 3-day
And
paperwork.
in the
And
trains.
yes, 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 all over the world, all the things you've done for Biscuit. Thank you. My friend, show us your book one more time. Show us the back cover, please. The back of your book, because I said you're on the front, but yes, how cool is
Yes,
that
that's the
picture?
back.
Yes, I love that. And is that the bike that what you were on when you had the accident? No.
No,
Okay. Well, I
that
don't
bike was
know.
gone. Yeah,
I don't.
it
I
was
would think it
gone.
would be. I would think it
Crashed.
would be totaled. Yeah. I just want to. I just want to be sure. Thank you
Mhm.
very much. I appreciate you being with us. To my friends, stay here because
Thank
we're going
you.
to continue. My friends, stay here. My friends, stay here. Before we say goodbye to Kim, hang on one moment, Kim. We're going to introduce and bring on our next author so we can have Asia say hello to Asia. We have Kim in Malaysia getting ready for me to introduce another author, Phyllis. And Phyllis is going to be joining us from Thailand. Kim, thank you for your words. Thank you for your wisdom.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
putting your story down. I really appreciate that. And I want to say, stay crazy, close your inner circle. See me next time. Bye. Thank you for being with us. Thank you.
Bye.
I appreciate you. Bye. Phyllis, hello. Good evening for you joining us from Thailand. You are just a sight for sore eyes. I would like to say that I have a copy of not a download, as I often get in Mark Fisher's instance, for example. Look, I've been practicing glowing up, you see, and this book is written by you. Oh my goodness. Can I ask you what part of the world you're in so people hear it from your own eyes
I
or
am
your own mouth?
yes, I am. I'm in Bangkok, Thailand, where it is almost bedtime, but I decided these are not pajamas. I wanted to dress up for you guys.
But you see, you could have not said anything, and we would think you're just along with like Betty O'Brien, who attends everything on Zoom in her pajamas. But because they're silk, we would never know the difference. And you are all dressed up. I think it's lovely to see you. It's lovely to hear you. Thank you. I've answered your other previous missives so far today by email and on WhatsApp as well. Your book came snail mail. I was waiting and waiting to post, which I was very happy that it came. Congratulations. I tell every author author. I bow in reverence and honor and respect, because I've been there, to somebody who does more than a tweet. Because as you know, you do a one-sentence tweet and immediately you have friends who you never knew around the world hating you. And that's a tweet with the word love in it. So imagine you write a whole book, and what are people going to do? Tell us about the title Glowing Up. I love the play on words.
Yes. So I am sharing my story of, of how I was this little bashful, very weak child.
Well, you got that fixed.
I think I do. And through fitness, through putting myself out there and challenging myself, stepping out of my comfort zone, and actually learning to teach fitness in front of a crowd of people, and I was scared to death. But it was the first step, one of the first steps in starting to develop my self-worth. And as I continued to work with class participants, and then later as a personal trainer, I realized that so many people were just like me. They were not confident. They had a lot of self-loathing. And in working with clients and helping them with their weight loss and their transformation changes, I started to realize that it was more than diet, it was more than nutrition, it was more than workout. We had to dig in deep and find out what the issues were, because when you hate on yourself every single day, your body is just not going to respond. Yes. So that is what Glowing Up is about. And it tells my story, it tells the story of my clients, and then it gives a lot of tips on how to make some of those transformation changes day by day. And I should show you too that the partner to Glowing Up, Your Daily Glow, is now available as well. And then this is a workbook. And so that's
why everybody's posting 2 books, and I've been feeling left out. I just thought people like Pat have been posting 2 books because they also bought it in larger print.
Yes, this is the workbook. It's amazing. I'm so excited to share.
How can I not know about this and I'd be left out? I'll tell you what, I'm always the last to know everything. By the way, vavoom of the picture of your cover picture, that's just like, who's that? Just kidding. I know it's you. It's your Instagram. And kudos to you for having the same picture on your book and your Instagram and Facebook, and Starbucks consistency. The same Starbucks mermaid everywhere in the world. And you're much more compelling than a mermaid. So many things to say. In our chat comments, if you're on Facebook and you have another device like a phone or an iPad and you click share to this live broadcast before it ends, it will show up on your feed as well. And you will, even though people are going to bed, you will dramatically and exponentially increase our viewers. Even though you and I are sort of technically an hour early, even if you've called all your troops at a certain time, it's okay to broadcast early and you can reshare. Yes, it is true, an hour early, but it's okay. You and I are here. You go to Facebook, you find me. It's easy. My Facebook name, it's a real no-brainer. Find Lawrence. And then you refresh that. You'll see our feed, the one with you and me. It'll start with Kim because you're on this. We continued. You click share, then you click share now. It's really not hard once you find me. Well, it's not difficult once you find me. You click share and then you click share now. And while you're doing that, I'll just take up a little time and say, my friends, you've heard that this book, Glowing Up, a play on the words growing up, her story, but for everyone, includes this great section called SMART Goals. If you're in fitness, maybe you've heard of this thing about SMART Goals. Make sure you don't just say wishbones, like, oh, I one day want to have a dog. That's a wishbone. You got to make sure your wishbones have backbones. And how do you do that? You make your SMART goals for glowing up. She takes these SMART goals, SMART. It could be a word for Wordle because it's 5 digits, 5 letters, and she revises it, which I love when we look at new things with new eyes. And I also love when we revisit old things with new eyes. As I say always, old keys can't open new doors. Have I stalled enough for you, Phyllis? Have you found it? Have you found?
You've done an amazing job. Can you be with me forever? Because I love it.
Well, I don't know if your husband would like that very much, but you know, I have no issues answering you immediately. think I should meet him first, at least. This year at AFC in Bangkok, you're going to be selling this book. You're going to be signing because it'll be the first major international convention. But many of us are not waiting till October. What is the book and what is the workbook and what's the difference?
So the book is the story, right? I call it my business card. It's the way of introducing you to a method, in a sense, of how to transform your life. And then the workbook is the meat and bones of it all, where you're journaling, you're setting goals for yourself. I'll show you one thing here.
Oh, show and tell. I love that. Where do we buy these, including the new workbook that I was never invited to purchase?
On Amazon. You can order it at your local bookstore, or you can
there's a local bookstore. Who has that anymore? What is that?
Oh, yeah, like Barnes and Noble or wherever you might be.
Who?
Yeah. www.glowingup.me is my website.
What?
www.glowingup.me. That's
me,
my website.
M-E. Okay,
Me.
and you're going to put that in our comments, or somebody nice, some nice person of the thousands and thousands people watching right now, our Facebook Live, someone is going to be typing that, right? Typing that in.
Love it when it's ordered through the website, because then I get the contact information and I can connect with the readers and say, hey, how's it going? How do you like it? You know, how can I help you? And I'm actually starting a group, I don't want to call it a support group, but sort of a support group.
Will you allow cisgender males in there too? Or is this one of those women on the way, women in fitness, women in champions, and women with a vagina? What?
Everybody, vagina or no vagina.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because I've been really starting to feel left out, and I'm sure that's going to get me hated by a lot of people, but I never blended in. So you're just looking for groups that accept you from the beginning, because I wasn't one of those macho chauvinist pighead mentalities growing up in the first place. Tell me something we would never find out about Phyllis by reading your bio.
If you read my bio, you will never know until you dig into the book that I worked in law enforcement for 5 years. I come from a long line of law enforcement, and you would never guess that. I was a terrible police officer because I was just all smiles and I loved
not these days. I don't think you want to say you were a terrible police officer these days, because that means a whole lot of things like brutality and I'm sure you were a very nice, forgiving, loving, kind, smiley police officer. I'm sure is what you meant to say. And weren't you a patrol? Sorry?
That's why they brought me in, because
the
city had a really bad reputation from the former department and there was a lot of brutality, and they wanted me to help kind of change the image. So that
was this in Thailand?
This was in the US, in Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay. I didn't know that. I thought you were a patrol officer. I didn't know you were a police officer. I think that's fascinating. We would never know that from your bio. Give me the elevator speech of why we need the book and the workbook. We have 1 minute in an elevator. What do you do? I'm an author. Really? Okay. Why do I need to buy your book, Phyllis?
Okay. Well, we just rewrote my elevator pitch. So here it is. Greetings, compassionate souls. Inspired by the timeless wisdom of Audrey Hepburn, who said, as you grow older, you're going to discover that you have two hands, one to help yourself and one to help others. And so Glowing Up is an initiative to help give hope to all kinds of people around the world. A lot of us are struggling with our self-image, with our health, all of that. And so Glowing Up mission is going to empower individuals to transform their lives by embracing a healthier lifestyle while lifting up their community simultaneously. So through our holistic approach, we offer tailored fitness, nutrition programs, mental health support, and community-driven projects, which I want to share with you, to encourage participants to extend their hands to others in needs. So by being a part of the Glowing Up Initiative of Hope, you are not only taking charge of your own life, but you are also going to create a ripple effect and help others in your community and around the world. So I hope that you will take a step with me and start to allow yourself to glow and lift others and lift yourself along the way.
Thank you for your elevator speech. I think we could go to the top of the Empire State Building and back for that one. I think it's compelling. I think it's informative, and I love how you said we have just rewritten my elevator speech. I love the plural first person pronoun we, because it always makes us think that you got a team, you've got the marketing, you've got the social media, you've got the husbands, you've got the marketers, you've got the demographic specialists, you got the market researchers. I love that when people say we. When I say we, it's all the voices in my head that come together to multitask a outrageously well-teched show such as this. Tell me, thank you for your elevator speech. Where do you prefer, and in what formats do you prefer we buy your book? You mentioned Amazon. You mentioned glowingup.me, which we're putting in the comments. Anything else that we might want to know to find your book? Is it audio coming?
Yes, I am working on an audio right now. So if people don't mind my voice, I am going to tell the story.
First of all, who cares what people think, right? I always will buy an audio. I'm more likely to click when it's not read by someone else. I love to hear it's the author, even if the author has an accent that is difficult for me to follow into. I'm following a lot of leaders around the world on a special app for the 40 days of Lent, and the technical language of everything is English, and for some of it, the struggle is real. Just to understand, you don't worry about your voice. You are unapologetically reading your thoughts and words and opinions and facts and research, and whoever likes your voice, bless them. And if they don't like your voice, bless them more. I tried to read books for the blind for 3 different companies and got rejected. It didn't stop me from speaking or doing podcasts, clearly. However, you can't worry about what people think. If people want to hear my voice, what are you going to do? Get Petra Kolber to read your book? She's read her own. We want to hear your authentic self, and we love the sound of her voice.
I'm the same as you. I love hearing the author reading their story. I think it's so authentic, and I loved reading Mer when you were telling your story. It just meant so much more to me than.
Thank you. I appreciate you. It's Shiva's story in a non-realistic place. It's completely a fictional planet, I have to say. I believe that because I'm in fitness, we share that correlation, but I'm neither a cisgender female diabetic overweight lesbian youth nor someone living on planet Mir as well. There might be a few random, occasional, obscure similarities in the book, as you say. However, I just want to say thank you for your interest. Thank you for buying the book. I always think it's more important that fellow authors buy a book. Who cares what it's about? Figure out the time to read it later. But before I let you go, Phyllis, tell us one of your favorite parts of Glowing Up, a section that you loved writing or that you still go back to, that you're really happy to say, this stands out on its own, and it's one of my best pages.
I love the chapter that talks about my clients, because it starts from my very first client who was turning 80 years old to a couple clients losing 90 to 135 pounds, and other clients that have stuck with me for nearly 20 years. And it just means so much to me when I read back and I re-experience our time together. It just brought joy and light to my heart. And so that's one of my favorite chapters.
That's lovely. That's lovely. All right. Then before I let you go, I want to say that from author to author, I like, know, and trust you. In addition to calling you colleague, I can also call you a friend. You're going to be seen in person signing in October at the AFC convention, which just today posted all of its confirmed contracted presenters. And I want to say that your message of sharing your story with tidbits and life hacks does work for all of us figuring out this thing called life in a post-pandemic world. I really appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying up late where you are and dressing up, as you said, and for glowing up and showing up.
I love it. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be a part of your show.
And as a transition from you in Thailand, we are going to go to someone representing Malaysia, joining us from the UK. Stay with us just for a moment, Phyllis, and I'll introduce you to Anne C. Anne C joining us, I believe, in the UK, correct? Yes.
I'll come off
Anne
mute.
C's
Yes.
in the, no worries. It's okay. We still learn how to mute and unmute in this virtual world. And you know, Phyllis, because Phyllis has been some of our groups and some of our in-person things as well. Phyllis, I'm going to send you off of our Facebook Live, but I invite you to keep watching because you're going to find out about a book that you can't hold in your hands today, but will be able to hold in your hands very, very soon. Phyllis, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the gifts of your wisdom. I say stay crazy, close your inner circle, and see you next time. Bye. Anne C., welcome. Where are you and what time is it?
It is 20 to 3 in the afternoon and I'm in the UK.
Yes, and you're originally from?
I'm originally from Malaysia, born
We just had Kim
Perak.
from Malaysia. Then we had
Phyllis.
just now our Phyllis in Thailand. Now we have Anne C. Your book, I'm sure, will be a bestseller in Malaysia. How long have you been living in the UK?
I arrived January 1986.
All right. I always say that we all have multiple books inside of us, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you have, I think, a couple books inside of you that you're working on. So Facebook viewers and Instagram friends, I'd like to say pretty non-officially, but the information is going to be official in a moment. You're going to hear firsthand for a lot of you that Anne's working on more than one book. Anne C., can you tell us?
Yeah.
It's just us.
It's just us. I'm working on 2 books definitely this year. I've co-authored several books in the past.
With Les Mills, right?
No, business book, like business tips. You know, like I've got a chapter in that. That was for charity. I've got
Honey, everything we do in life is for charity. Trust me.
I
We're in the
know.
business of fitness. What's that book? Show us the black cover.
There's
I
that one, Jerry Visca, about your why. That's my own, which is just my yoga teacher training. And then for my business coach, I've also I've written a chapter in his book. So yeah, but
before you tell us of what's coming, how do we see your past? Is there one link that will show us each of those and how we can get them? Because you know I buy into what my friends do, even if I don't have time to read them.
I need to get more organized, don't I? Really, I know you do.
No, but how? But you've written chapters that, honey. My name, when my name appears as author, I don't care if I wrote a sentence in a book.
Do you know what?
I authored that sucker.
This was 2013. This one.
Excuse me. Did I say that age is related to anything? This is last century. So you want to talk about?
I will create a page.
People flock to the pyramids every day, and they're younger than both of us combined. But listen, tell me, the books that you have written, I would love you to come back into this feed and tell us where they are for personal interest as well. Your yoga teacher training probably has to come only with your but that probably has to come with the whole course, right?
No, you can buy it off Amazon.
Yeah, but you don't know where. Oh, Amazon. Okay, can you put the links? Can you
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you all! I'm promoting your stuff. You say after this broadcast.
Yes, I will. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, what are you working on now? Let's go. What are you working on? Bring it.
Okay, so the 2 books. There's one. The book I'm working on is I'm going to organize a collaborative book, and that will come out later in the year, and that's called For the Love of Group Fitness: Love Letters to Group Fitness. So I'm pulling on authors to do that. But my own book that I'm actually going to do myself it's to do with group fitness instructors and how to find the balance between life and making money and serving people.
Wait. Making money in group fitness in the same sentence as a possibility?
Yeah.
Wow, we need your book. We need your book. Well, this talks about how we don't make anything in the fitness industry on some planets in some fitness realities, otherwise known as human trafficking. However, your book is going to be about realistic approaches for today's group fitness professional of all disciplines, right? Whether you teach yoga or Zumba or Les Mills
group classes. Yeah.
Okay, and where do we see that coming out? Do we have an idea?
I think within the next 6 months.
Wow. And we're going to have the ability to buy all these questions that totally unrehearsed. Are we going to be able to download or read or listen to you read it or all of that? You don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know.
So it'll be on Amazon. It'll go on Amazon first, and then there'll be hard copies as well.
You had me at hard.
And audio, I don't know, like I've never done an audiobook before. You have.
I did Mir, and I don't care that I cried through the last chapter. I kept going. I was sentimental of my fictional heroine's continuation in the industry. I think I would love to hear you read your own book, and I would buy it to follow along like Mrs. Land in first grade and Sister Teresa. I love your accent. I love the way you sound. I love the melody of your voice. And I don't say that about a lot of presenters, especially when they start teaching movement and their pitch goes up. And what's worse than being told to do a burpee? Being screamed at in a shrilly, high-pitched voice by any gender through a microphone that, don't you love this, doing burpees? Oh my gosh, if I had razor blades, I'd have to hide them. What are you most excited about writing your book? Like what section are you really saying, oh, I can't wait to tell the story about?
For me, it's very much about what I've had to learn. I think, like my journey, because I had no, I did this. I joined this industry, entered the industry just because I wanted to make a difference. And I really didn't think about, I was driven on passion. And then at some point you realize, which is what your book talks about, it's like all the shit that comes with it. And then you just think, I need help. And it was very much about that. And I am where I am today because of the people, the coaches I've worked with. Honestly, I really didn't have a clue at all. And I think you can get away a lot with it. You can get away a lot with, just being who you are, but that only takes you so far, I think.
I think it's great that you're going to acknowledge the wisdom from your leaders, yet also focus on what you've learned that you want to share with us. There are a few secrets, like I think in Mir, how to ask for more money, especially when the year changes, with these great 5 things that group fitness instructors don't get taught in learning a certification when you're learning kinesiology and SMART goals. I mean, oh my gosh, no one told us this is how to work for yourself. And in our industry, I think we work for ourselves. It took a lot of courage, I'm sure, after years from Les Mills to almost completely walk away from Les Mills. Are you still with them?
I'm still with them.
Okay, all right. But your book is going to be on your own.
Yeah.
And your yoga teacher training is on your own.
I've always done that. I've always done my own stuff on the side. And I think that's really important for people to realize as well. But yeah, hearing you say about this stuff's not taught, the fitness business is not taught, because because your podcast comes out next week.
Thank you. I'm so glad you said it so I don't have to sound like, what have we done together recently that we're going to be able to share with the world? Thank you. Yes, you have a whole line of podcasts, which really is the same as your new book, right? It's For the Love of Group Fitness.
Yeah, and right? I was just making notes about my takeouts or takeaways. We've had this conversation before. And that was one thing I wrote down, is that you said, is that we're not taught this stuff. Like we're not taught about how to control our voice, especially if you're using a microphone, that you don't have to go up, 3 octaves.
Right. Raising your voice only makes people deaf. It doesn't make them be more conscious of their execution in a burpee. No, absolutely right. Congratulations on writing a new book. On 2 new books. Congratulations on your podcast. The reason that people need to follow you, like right now on clicking, is that you're doing a lot of information. You put out, as recently as today, on Facebook Live and other places, lots of content. You, like I, agree that you give a lot of little tidbits away, useful tidbits away, and there's so much more that people will pay for you because they like, know, and trust you. And when that happens, they come to you. And if not, we still bless them. It's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. bless
Yeah.
them and
On our
let them go
on our current feed, if you go into comments, please put comments of where we can buy the past books, even if they were a chapter. Follow You Now. I'm going to start to post our upcoming imminent podcast as well. And if you want to, on our Facebook, because this is the first time that I've heard you talk about your 2 new books in one recording, you can click share on our my Facebook Live, and then perfect. Thank you. So good. So good. Thank you for mentioning my book. Thank you for saying that it has some backstory and takeaway. And yours is really going to be part 2, which is now what do we do with it? How do we make it work for us? And really, money is not a bad word in fitness. Every profit needs a profit, and every mission needs a margin. Know your worth, and then add tax.
It really breaks my heart, right? Because I've been there, where I've scraped my gym bag for coins to pay for my fuel to go and teach a class, and for instructors, especially now, with the shifts in the last few years, just trying to pay.
Right.
They're changing lives every day. Every class they teach, they're changing lives.
Right. It is true.
What are they doing to change their own,
And you, like our next guest, who is currently writing a book and will be an author, and you're in process. I love to profile sort of the behind the scenes and the making of. The very successful movies today come out. After the movie comes out, you see the behind the scenes and the making, but that was recorded and filmed before, which is how wonderful that I'm having you and our next guest on profiling not only the past works that you've hinted about and shown briefly, but what's coming up. And see, when we read your bio, I've mentioned Les Mills, I've mentioned some of the things you've done, the trainings, what you put online, what you have behind the scenes, the mastermind groups that you do, where people learn a lot of tips to save money that they buy into with you. I recommend your work with ANC on a scale of 1 to 10. I recommend you as an 11. I can say congratulations. You are now an officially, I can talk about it, AFC presenter for 2023. You will be presenting lots of barefoot modalities that, like all modalities, should be mindful. And that graphic, I don't know if you've seen it yet, has just come out from Thailand today of the confirmed contracted presenters for AFC. Congratulations, you're on that list. And I can say that I am.
And you're right in the middle. Your face is right in the middle.
I texted them, and I had no involvement with that, but I did get a message from Italy saying, I see you chose the best spot for yourself. And I didn't make that graphic. Clearly, look at my graphics. I don't have any expertise in graphic design yet. I do my own because there goes more profit. I've learned from Noel a few hacks, and he's very much a fan of Canva, and I'm not. I find Canva, and I'll say it here, one of the least user-friendly.
Oh, do you?
I do. Yep. This is simple. And if you can't simplify it for me for a first grader, I'm not going to understand your message. And I don't have time to go into hell to use a free platform to upload a graphic and do what I want with it. But for those of you that have time in your life, to that learning curve, bless your heart. And see, I've mentioned all these wonderful things about you. For those of us who are going to read your bios on your past, present, and future books, wonderful, good for us. Tell us something about you we're never going to read on a book bio.
Never going to read on a book bio.
Yeah, something about ANC that a lot of people don't know.
When I was a toddler.
Okay, a few years ago.
This is like completely random, right? It's the first thing that's come to my head. I used to have a habit. I used to drive my grandmother crazy back in Malaysia. I used to love running around the house without my pants on.
Well, I guess we share 2 things. Number 1, same. And number 2, I never stopped.
Oh, no, but the thing is, my grandmother used to run around behind me in her sarong and stuff, picking up little marbles of poo.
Oh, fascinating. Number 1, how nice that there were marbles, because it's not difficult to clean up after a rabbit, right? And how nice to be so regular.
I know I'm terrible, and if people that follow me know that when I've taught classes, and I do talk about bowel function quite a lot, so maybe that's
It's
where it
important.
comes
I was
from.
holding my breath because when you said people who know me and come to my regular classes know that I was thinking of the second part of that sentence, run around like a toddler without underwear.
Yeah, no, I'll spare people that view.
Oh my gosh, thank you for that. That's what I'm really wanting to hear when I say tell us something about Anne C that we would never read in an Anne C book bio. That's it. All right. What are you
Thank
looking most forward to besides our your podcast where I'm a guest debuting next week? What is something going on right now that you're most interested in that actually feeds your research for your book?
I'm putting together another summit.
Wonderful. It will be online.
It will be online, but this time I'm going to attempt to do it live. So rather than pre-recording the speakers, we will do it live across 5 days. And it's about pulling everything together, sort of,
Sort of like this in real time. And you have the
in
next
real
and you have
time, and
that.
they can watch it on catch up if the time zone doesn't suit them.
I
It's all
hope,
about
and we
not
haven't
retiring.
We haven't about not retiring. Huh. We have not discussed this, but I'm going to put it out there now. I hope it's not going to be for free. Every single thing you put, every summit is always free. And I'll always, I don't care what you charge. I'm there as a paying spectator, delegate, attendee. You have the best of the best. And I think it would be great market research also for your book. I did 3 virtual summits and at no charge. And this is the mail outs and the reference and the engagement. And when I charged, this is what happened. I'm very, very curious. I'm sure you've already made your decision, and I can only tell you my opinion, and our opinions are like holes in donuts. Everybody's got one, right? However, I just have to put it out there that you bring such talent and such value and such takeaways. There's even that crazy person that goes and watches every presenter and writes takeaways. I mean, to sit through all of that. I mean, in the US, we take out as food and sorry.
But that's amazing. That crazy person who does that. It's amazing.
That's because obviously that person has no life. Oh my God.
No, but that person does have a life, right? And doesn't get hung up with Canva and
clearly
Pinterest. Do you remember we talked about Pinterest?
We did, and you do Pinterest.
Yeah, no, just for my recipes and
well, that's okay. That's all right. Well, recipes, right? Who doesn't love food? Not everybody loves burpees, but who doesn't eat? Right? I mean, talk about being something to everyone. Thank you for the gift and honor of your time and wisdom.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate
this wonderful teaser. I loved the visuals of the books you've done. I'm very interested in the yoga manual, whatever word you use, to have it and buy into it. So if I don't buy it, it's because you didn't put the link in this comment. And I'm willing to download it or snail mail ship it across the Atlantic, or hold off for a UK visit. And that's between you and me. I'm still planning that because everything since Brexit with a dog with 2 passports is more complicated, not easier. And that's from LHR, dog receiving officer, not mine. Since Brexit, we have to work. We have all these new things. People are much easier to get into the UK with papers, of course, than dogs with of any passport. And who cares about that? Watching us, only dog lovers. I thank you for your wisdom. I thank you for your time. And I'm going to ask you to be here for a moment while I bring on my next guest. Yes. And I love to transition, as we'll transition from the UK to somewhere fascinating called Raleigh, North Carolina. And I believe that is our future author, Bren or Brenna Crowson. Thank you very much for being with us. I think you know each other at least by name, if not by name. Thank you, Ancy. I appreciate you. Stay crazy. Bye. Close your social circle and see me next time on our podcast next week. Bye. Yes. Thank you for being with us. Hello, Bren.
Hello, Lawrence. Can you hear me all right?
Everything is great. You're joining us from where?
Raleigh, North Carolina, and it is just short of 11 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time.
Wonderful. Great background. I love to see that you have a little personality there as well. And we're not holding up a book today because, like Ann C, spilling the tea, she's got a book coming out. She shared 2 books. She's currently putting the research together for coming out. And you are already underway on your first major book, international presenter, black belt teacher of karate, yoga, barefoot, mindful leader extraordinaire, teacher of teachers, teacher of consumers, wife, lover of all things Emily in Paris. Yes, you're welcome. And and current writer. Tell us, what are you writing, please?
Well, I am writing a book about an experience that I've had really starting 8.5 years ago that continues to grow and develop. And I realized from that experience, and most recently from COVID, that there really is a need for the information that I want to share. I love what Natalie said early on in the very first interview, that there is a book waiting to be written in every one of us. Maybe she quoted you and then and quoted it back, but it's really true. And especially these last couple of years, the unprecedented time that we've been through, the impact that it's had on, I think, most especially our young people, the suicides, the drug overdoses that are happening, that was our experience. And 8.5 years ago, our son passed away very unexpectedly here at home, just short of his 29th birthday, from a drug overdose. And it was related to a surgery he'd had the day before, but it was an accidental drug overdose. And so we just kind of bumped along in our grief process and really searched for answers to hard questions. We got some, but it wasn't like complete. And I feel that now, especially at this time when we have so many young people, the mass shootings, and it's impacting not just the people that are dying, but their families and friends of families. So that's really what this book is about. It's going to be, I like to think of it as a compassionate toolkit to really assist anyone that's lost a loved one.
Bren, thank you for having an open mind and sort of summarizing our previous authors, because you have to think yourself confident to write a story that allows you to stay conscious and sane and surviving, but by grace and moving forward with the secrets that you've learned from within and without of your industry, to quote our previous authors so far. Like Kim, you're sharing your personal story with life hacks or secrets or tips for the rest of the world in creating and compelling more conversation, which is really important, because not everybody wants to talk to the loss of a child. Outliving a child, not anyone else can relate to who hasn't done so, because it's against the natural order of genealogy, if you will. And unlike Kim, who was in a coma, came back and could recoup her walking and teaching and movement skills, your book will be about moving forward with something you cannot fix or bring back or recoup or recover. And that's fascinating. As we say in Asia, same, but different. Life tragedy becomes successful, however, a whole new toolkit. And your book, I know, will have a couple different sections in it to give people who may not even have personal family loss some life hacks about looking at some things differently.
Absolutely. And what has happened that really is propelling me to write the book right now, it is friends, because I love to share experiences and realizations and stages of where we are. We've been so greatly supported by friends and family, but from a distance. Family lives in Colorado, and friends really around the world have stayed very connected with us throughout this process.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways I can communicate with everybody really at the same time is through social media. And so every so often I would go to our Chris tree. This is actually the motivation for my story.
Thank you for sharing the picture, and thank you for posting on Facebook on our promotion of today's Author's Corner.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And so because of the postings, then friends who had friends whose sons or daughters suddenly were killed in a car accident or suicide or just whatever called me. What can I say to them? What can I do for them? How can I help? And it was just happening like actually every week, Lawrence. I've been getting phone calls, and more so since COVID, because it's really, I think, taking a toll on a lot of our. In fact, one of our local universities, you probably have seen this on the news, NC State down in Raleigh, just lost their 10th student to a drug overdose this year. 10 students. It's either been suicide or drug overdose, accidental drug overdose. And that's a huge number, a huge impact on families. And so really, I feel like this is very timely because of where we are in this world's history.
Thank you. Before we talk about a little more of what your book will be, because you're in the process of writing it, tell us, as you'll go through edits of your bio that we'll see on a back cover somewhere, what is something about you, black belt, I've already revealed that we're not going to, I would put that in my bio. Are you kidding? Ride that puppy. What is something about Bren that we're not going to read in your book bio as an author?
Well, since it's just us, right? and nobody else will know, I am going to share something very personal that really, truly, nobody but my husband, my middle brother, and a very wise psychologist know about me. I suddenly started experiencing, when I was 18, 19 years old in college, horrible agoraphobia, which is a fear of closed-in spaces and lots of people, and just being in masses of people or in front of people. Well, ironically, think of what I'm doing now for much of my day is being in front of people with almost no clothes on, and I'm okay with it. It was getting so bad that I could not go into restaurants. I couldn't eat out. I started having trouble going into shopping malls, and it was just gradually taking my life away. So one of the as a transition, one of the classes that I took from my master's in special education was called stress management, and I took it with
stress. What's that?
I know, right? Exactly. Nothing that any of us know about, and it was a way to get a credit. But I actually took it with my middle brother. I was in a master's program at the same school where he was an undergrad. And so we took the class together, and that's the reason he knows about this. The teacher said, what I want each of you to do is to figure out one particular thing about you that you want to change. It could be just something you don't like, something that's impacting your life, whatever. One thing, and that is your mission this semester. Well, immediately I knew what it was. And so I talked to him after class, and I said, I've never admitted this to anybody, and I'm not sure where to go with it, but it's really impacting my life. And he sent me to the most incredible psychologist in Denver who worked with me. And I think to a degree, that once you are impacted by it, it's always kind of there. But if you have the toolkit or the knowledge to understand it and be prepared, then it's manageable.
Let
Right?
me tell you, the ultimate test, my friend, will be when we're riding something called the BTS or Bangkok train system in
Oh,
Thailand in October, going
yes.
from hotel to the convention center because you've
Yeah.
signed on as an official delegate before you'll come on as a presenter. And I think that will be a great test of how you doing.
If you see me frothing at the mouth, or you'll know things are not going well.
I'm already frothing at the mouth when I have to get up and go teach there. However, I think it's a great test to being around a lot of people whose culture and language and smell and taste that you know and don't know. Taste in the food, obviously, you're not licking the strangers, at least on the first day. And
Hopefully.
it's a wonderful melting pot experience. Thank you for sharing that story that we didn't know. It might actually end up in your bio as an author, agoraphobia, because once people relate to that, it's even another way to learn something about you that qualifies you to talk about sort of not only did you want to not go back into society after this loss, but you also going back into crowded spaces, even to go seek therapy is also strike two, right?
Yeah.
Good for you for sharing that. Tell me the elevator speech of your book, the shortest version of maybe maximum 2 sentences. We're in an elevator. What do you do? I'm writing a book. Really? I'm lost. Great. Tell me, why do I need to buy your book? I don't have kids. I'm not going to have kids. Why do I need to buy your book, Bren?
What do you say? What do you do when you find out that somebody you love is suddenly gone?
Brilliant.
If you are at a loss for an answer, or if someone has recently asked you for help navigating this experience, this grief in their life, and you don't know what to say or what to do, I can help.
Wonderful. That's great. From personal experience and from you're going to be sharing all the therapy and professional medical experience as well. I know just because you've shared with me so many outlines and progress, and I love what I've seen. I'm just so compelled. Hello, you're here. And soon we'll be adding you to this. And I hope you'll do the audio book as well, because like every author, I want to hear it from the author. I don't care whose voice it is, unless you're cueing high-pitched movements of any gender. Great. Tell me, as you're writing your book, why do you think this topic of loss and coping and managing life's unexpected tragedies is so timely for us now?
I realized last summer, I think actually the moment that the light bulb went off, you and I were on a phone call together. And it wasn't anything I had thought about necessarily before we started talking.
Wait, you and I speak behind the scenes? What?
Oh,
like
what? Now and then, maybe like a lot.
Never as often as I would have it. Never often enough. Go ahead. Sorry.
You were nudging me to go one direction to do something. And I was putting my hand up and saying, I've been there, done that. But you know where I'm really compelled to go right now is to write a book. And once I said those words, I thought, it has been in my heart for a long time. I just wasn't ready to do it. So first and foremost, for that book that's waiting in all of us, I think you have to be ready to write it. That you can't force it if you're not ready. No. Mirror came because you were ready. It was probably in you for a long time, right?
I hope you're referring to the experiences of the book. Yeah.
To the book and not the little poops that that MC talked about. That was funny.
Correct.
And you combine that with where we are in our world right now. People are crazy, and crazy
you
things.
Think?
Yes, I'd like to think otherwise, but where we are, unexpected.
You're on Twitter. You're one of the 3 people in fitness on Twitter. Like, I think the reason I find so many haters is because they're not my peeps. They're not my people. But still, oh my gosh.
They don't understand, right? They don't understand that this is it. And I after I had received 3 or 4 calls, I think in 1 week, while I was talking with you about someone whose son had just been discovered face down in a lake, and really tragic things, and they're desperate for hope. that's really the underlying piece, that in everybody we've met so far this morning, there's a thread of hope woven into every one of their books.
Right.
A hope
Thank
of
you, Bren.
confidence.
I
hope of,
agree. If
you
we
know?
asked everyone watching now on our Facebook in real time or on a recording thereafter, have you ever experienced the loss of a child the day after a surgery? Have you ever experienced the loss of a child? Have you ever experienced the loss of a family member? Have you ever experienced the loss of a child, family member, or pet? Have you ever experienced unexpected loss? Have you ever experienced unexpected loss of a loved sentient being with no coherent coping mechanism steps? And you see how I've gone to broaden the relevancy of your book?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we are not only waiting after losing so much in our pandemic and rethinking so much during our pandemic, but we want your book. I think the world is ready for that. And you're courageous enough to try to tell your story. And it's not all peaches and roses.
No. And you know, the interesting thing, and I would love to hear from Kim and some of our other authors, as you are in the process of pulling this book out, are there pieces of you that you uncover that maybe got buried down, that you sort of forgotten about, or you didn't want to know about, that it's coming? And this is like the faucet that you just turned on, so it's coming out, and ready or not, it's coming out. And I would be interested to know if that is the same experience that the other authors are having that I'm having.
Correct. I'm hearing you saying that the process of writing a book that is remotely personal is as much personal as for others. It's as much for the person you're getting to know as the people who will read it, whom you don't know. Yeah.
And I think
you're welcome. Take it.
Yeah. When you lose a loved one, whether it's your family member, unexpected, or even if you know it's coming, and then when the event happens, I feel as if this is an opportunity to really have a resource to go to that we just didn't have.
Right. You're going to have transcripts on some calls. You're going to have checklists. You're going to have some prayers. You're going to have a section. Tell us about the section, if I may point to it, something like, and I'm bastardizing and simplifying, but we go back and forth on a lot of ideas. I don't know what you've settled on most recently, but something like things never to say, things always to say, things to rephrase saying, right? Because people say really a lot of stupid shit. I just say now, I don't know what to say, but I care. So tell me what I can ask you, because I don't even know how to speak to the LGBTQ community of today's approved vocabulary, and I'm part of that group. I'm always offending somebody. I just say, I'm so interested in this topic and I want you to know I care. I just don't know how to ask my questions. Like if somebody says I'm transgender female and I'd like to date you and you're available, you all want to know, right? Well, what genitalia do you have? How do you ask that?
Or do you ask? Yeah, do you even ask that, right? Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things that someone said is, well, it's for the best. You know, he's in a better place. In the heart of someone who's grieving, and truly, your beloved animal, your pet, can be as dear to your heart as a child. I mean, a pet can be your child, and like Biscuit's your child. And if someone says, well, Lawrence, Biscuit's in a better place,
or he's just a dog. I get all the time.
He's just a dog. Yeah, he's just a dog.
Yeah.
You want to smack them and to say, but
well, that would be polite.
he's not here, and that's where I really want him, is here. And I think the takeaway is,
and for those watching, if anybody wants to know, Biscuit is right here. He's fine as we're speaking and recording this today.
Oh,
go ahead.
good.
The takeaway
is that genuinely it's because people don't know what to say. They say stupid stuff.
Absolutely.
That's the takeaway. And if you can grasp that they really are struggling for what to say, so they say stupid stuff, then it's easy to not personalize it.
I agree. And your book will have checklists on some really nice things to say. And I love, you know me, I love language. And when people give me a sentence that I wouldn't wrap my head around, but it's some stuff I'd be willing to say, I think that's wonderful. In fact, the new thing is I don't know what to say and what words to use, but I want to ask some questions. So work with me here. That's what I ask now, because we're in territory that didn't exist in the 1930s. When Betty was born, it was completely
Or Betty.
different. A friend of ours who's in our profession, she's also a black belt, but she was born in the last century. She's certified. She teaches yoga like you do, but she's 92 in 2023. It's different mindset. And it's great for us to learn from your wisdom now, because we have problems and vehicles to talk about things that we couldn't before. You're going to put your book out in written and PDF and audiobook?
Yes, I will read it. I'm already planning to read it. And so it will go out in every place that I can get it out.
Wonderful. And you're referring to your book, of course. And
yes, yes, and not Natalie's one. No.
And be really prepared to decide before you start your audio process, because it's very personal to you. When you start reading and knowing that you have listeners, because you might have pre-sales or something, how perfect do you want that recording to be? You could do an Aaron King version that everything is absolutely sounds like she's speaking to you and every sentence is perfect and there's never a call for a sniffle or a tear or a choke up. Or if you start to do those things, do you want to keep those things in and let us hear you read that in that moment? That's a decision you want to make, or you'll be in editing hell. Because if you're going to make it that I want them to hear whatever happens, as long as we can hear the words, then one take wonder. And if you say, no, I want it to be a professional book recording that's under the standards for reading for the blind, for example, then reading really poignant, heart-wrenching stuff is going to be a lot of start and stop. So you're going to have
How do you decide which is the best way to do it? How do you decide?
I didn't decide. I hired someone to do my 12 short stories, a Disney author, a Disney animator, a Disney voice character actor that I could afford, Stephen Bell Davies, and he is in New York City, and he did all voices, all 60 voices of all 12 short stories in my Stories of Color. We worked out an arrangement, and he did the whole audiobook of all 12 short stories, and that's fiction. And he changes his voice, and he does accents, and he's just go fight, win. I bow to that talent. For this, Mir, I wanted to read it because it saves a lot of money, and I could inflect just what I wanted to on the right phrases, because I happen to know the author a little bit, so I kind of know what they were intending. And I really had difficulty with the last chapter, Shiva's final chapter of this book, and I just kept going. I just kept going, and I just kept going, and I sniffled and I choked, and you can hear it, and you can hear the pauses, and I just kept going. And I recorded, and when I hit pause or stop at the end of part 12, I had a few more things to record. I said, that's it. That was done, because that was me. That was the author. It was me. It was me reading Shiva's story.
How long did it take you start to finish to record it? Was it months or was it weeks or?
Thank you for asking. The parts pretty much in this printed version are the same in page numbers, because I didn't want one chapter to be super long and one chapter to be super short for audio purposes and for content and delivery, as well as PowerPoint. When we present, we don't want to spend 12 minutes on one slide and the next slide is 3 seconds and you wonder, what was that? Real great presenters, and I'm so not that, spend the exact same amount of time on each slide. That's a well-oiled machine. I'm not that. I recorded 2 chapters a day. So I took a week and I said, this is the week where I'm going back in the closet. And I put lots of clothes in one closet in Mykonos, where everything is tiny in my cottage. I could barely get in there. And you can hear the fan of the laptop in the distance, if you know you're listening for it, in the audiobook, because it's my laptop, a lot of clothes, and a little light, and my screen and my microphone. And I'm in the closet, and I did a chapter. I did part 1. Rested, part 2, came out of the closet, and with no air conditioning, because with air conditioning, you have more sounds. So I was
Oh, God.
in there. I mean, you can pay and go to a studio all over the world, right? A
Right.
soundproof studio, and there go your profits. I mean, by the
Right.
time you pay all that, and then you get the files, do you want them MP4? Do you want them MP3? Do you want all those decisions? All those decisions raise wonderful rates, and that decreases profit, and that's less that I could support and send to the Sisters of St. Joseph, the charity that I support through that, and the scholarships and the Stavention $500 prizes, and all the things that my goods and services fund. The more outsourcing I do for a quality that might be better, but nobody gives a shit about after pandemic. Look at all the stuff we're doing. We're in our living room. You're doing yoga in that studio you have there. People don't expect unicorns and rainbows and fresh flowers and orchids and all those things we did on those $10,000 shoots. You've been on them. I've been on them. And you stop and blow dry your hair between every take when you're starting to perspire. That's not credible, Jane Fonda. We loved her original DVDs. We didn't know better. Now we know that we want authentic. And so I recorded it. It's my voice. I did 1 week. I did 2 parts a day.
I think that's really, really good information for all of us who are in that next stage of planning, and hopefully I will be there very soon.
Although the authors who are booking the space in New York City, like Erin King, right, recording her book, and I only know that because in her latest book, You Really Are a Big Deal. Her book is called You Really Are a Big Deal. It's great. It also has an accompanying workbook. She says, as of today, where I'm recording this in a sound booth in New York City, that's how I know that it makes it real, which I like, but I can only imagine what that costs. And so you have this pressure for the minutes you're paying to knock off your book, right? I'd look at my chapter again because this book is self-published. Here's a big takeaway. Thank you for asking me. And then I'll turn this back to you. But I wrote my book and I printed version 1. And then I went in the closet and I read part 1. And while I was reading it, I'd highlight something that I knew I needed to make better. I finished part 1. I went back to this to update it for version 2. Then I went back to the closet and read the better version of part 1. That's why it took a week. So instead of really saying every day I read 2 parts, every day I read part 1 twice and part 2 twice. With going back and editing. Because when you hear yourself read your book, it's complete. I don't care who you are. It's completely different from the head you have, the head space you have, from the person on a rocking chair reading this with trifocals and having popcorn and a glass of wine who doesn't give a shit. When you're selling your book with your voice, the way you want people to hear it, it's a whole other circus. And so that's how I wrote this. I had written it, I read it, I tweaked it, and I read it again. And I said, this is in version 4, but I'm not going back and recording and more audio in the closet. I'm not going back in the closet for anybody. Done.
Well, I think that when you are reading, and especially with your audio version, there's like a 2-dimensional book, but then when you add the author's voice, and it's the author's voice, not just some great actor that's been hired to read it, it becomes 3-dimensional.
I agree. I agree. There are people with much more compelling voices like Stephen Bell Davies from Disney and Equinox fame in New York City. However, check him out on Instagram. He's doing a lot of squatting these days. Every day his squatting, not his voiceover abilities. And Stephen, Stephen Bell, Beldavies, Stephen Bell Davies. He and his husband came and visited Mykonos. It was lovely.
Nice.
And he's brilliant. And he'd be so compelling reading my book, but it wouldn't be me and telling Shiva's story in the way I want people to hear Shiva's story. And I don't think I have a voice. Clearly, the blind 3 companies in the U.S. for reading for the blind volunteering don't like my voice either. It didn't stop me from doing my audiobook.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all enjoying it. I've got the version 1 in print. I don't have the audio version yet, but I'm going to get the audio version. I want to have that so I can hear it. But the print version 1 is... it just grabs your heart for all of us who have been in that position, and and
Thank you.
pieces of it.
How back to you and to circle into our finishing our interview. When how are you in the writing process, and do you have a deadline for yourself?
Yes, I do. April 15th, I have to have the manuscript done.
Tax day, and that's before we meet in New York
On
City,
the
right?
27th. Yeah, it's supposed to be done.
You might have a preliminary chapter available by then.
Oh,
You know how
most
I did Mirror, right? I gave out
Mhm.
chapter 1 before the book was even done.
Yes,
Part 1.
not chapter 1 and chapter 2 done.
What's going to happen on April 27, by the way?
Oh, April 27th, I get to meet my mentor in New York
Stop.
City.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
2 friends are getting together in the city. And is it an open invitation for other people?
Is it? I don't know. I think so.
Of course it is. We have a WhatsApp group. Who wants to be in the city? Of course, the city, Gotham, the Big Apple on April 27. It's a Thursday. Bren is flying in. A couple people are driving in from Jersey, and some of us are in New York City. Stephen Bell Davies and his husband, and we're going to get together at different times of the day in different neighborhoods. And once you're in New York City, that day is on me. And all you have to do is join our WhatsApp group to tell me you're remotely interested for the deets or details. And where do you get the link? Check the comments here, and I will multitask and put that in our comments on the Facebook of this talk soon. I'm loading that up now. Go ahead,
While
please.
you're doing that, I have one last piece to share about the book, that the proceeds of the book, and this kind of came from your example, will go to a local animal rescue called Saving Grace. We are foster parents right now to a little puppy named Patton, who has been with us for about 6 weeks, and he's going back to the farm for adoption next week. So they're in desperate need of funding, and they just lost some of their big corporate funding. And they do such great work with so many puppies and dogs and older dogs that that's where the proceeds of this book will go.
Wonderful. I just posted on Facebook our link to our WhatsApp meetup in New York. If you're remotely interested, it's not a commitment. Please remember, Bren, I think it's great that you find out the Instagram and Facebook of that site that you'll be supporting of the profits of your book. And when you think that the world knows, just like I think the world knows I have a new book, or the world knows that my website is finelawrence.com. Remember, no one overhears. In today's age, we're already saturated. We overhear, but do we overprocess? We don't. Always tie your book when you have a link or anything with the Facebook or the Insta of that support, the charity you're supporting, right? Percentage of proceeds supporting the blah, blah, blah. You have to let people know, because even if they're not animal lovers, even if they've been bitten by dogs and they're animal phobic, and there are those people, trust me, they're going to love that your book is social good. It's not your husband's Emily in Paris tour reimbursement from last November, which you may or may not have gone on in first class. I mean, the book is not just refunding those funds. Your social good. Any cause is so important. If everybody had just one cause, the world would be a better place. But sometimes we're afraid to ask for money, and then we're afraid to the P word of profit. Right? It's not a dirty word.
No, I am not afraid to ask for people to buy this book, because it will definitely benefit these precious little beings.
Okay. With love in my heart, I want to thank you for your wisdom. For all of us watching on Facebook and beyond or in real time, I'd like you to stay tuned. I'm going to end our broadcast with Bren, and I'm going to do a few little things like hydrate and bathroom, and I'll be back with more authors with new books, which are compelling, social media, recognizable names that you're not going to want to miss. We've talked about grace. We've talked about confidence. We've talked about making money. We've talked about surviving loss and getting some hacks and tips from past and future authors. And coming up, we have 2 best-selling authors with books out in multiple formats whose on-screen personalities are pretty compelling in about 15 minutes. Bren, thank you for the wisdom. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. With love in my heart, I say, stay crazy, close your inner circle. See me next time. My friends, with love in my heart, thank you. Thank you for joining me so far on our Author's Nook. Everyone has a book inside. It's not so hard. Find a publisher. Lots of benefits, some disadvantages. Self-publish. Lots of benefits, some disadvantages. You choose. Get a mentor. Find somebody. Coffee talk. Hey, can I ask you some professional advice? Not pick your brain or ask you a quick question. How do I write a book? That's not a quick question. It's a quick question, but it's not a quick answer. Can I tell you, if you're watching, put a comment and let me know if you made it this far, and I'll know because you're going to answer this. Where are you, and did you change time recently in your part of the world? Where are you in the world, city, state, country, and did you change time recently in your part of the world? With love in my heart, I say to you, peace out. And peace out on our recording. Slice and dice to get the part that's most important to you, authors. Bye.